Good morning. My name is Doris Smith, and I am the Executive Director for Haven House Inc.
And my name is Joy Feliciano. I'm the crisis worker for Haven House Inc. Northwest. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Joy. What were you going to say?
No, I'm fine. I said Northwest Indiana. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. And thank you all so much for joining us for the morning tea. This is our first segment, and we're going to talk about how different cultures view mental health. But before we get into all of that, well, good morning to you, Joy. It's 5:03 a.m. on this beautiful morning, May 27th. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And you?
I'm doing good. So what you drinking today?
I am drinking honey, Madagascar vanilla coffee. It's a very light coffee. You know, it's just to relax you and stuff. It's nothing to get you up and jittery. It's so beautiful this morning. We don't need that extra boost of coffee.
That sounds delicious. And I'm drinking green tea.
Oh, I love green tea.
Mm-hmm.
With cream, sugar, just plain?
Just honey.
Just ooh, okay,
Yeah,
nice.
just honey. Yes. All right. So before we get into our discussion, I just want to give those that have tuned in just some information. Tell you about what Haven House Inc. does. We are a 24-hour emergency crisis line. We provide for domestic violence and homeless. We provide residential and non-residential services. So in addition to the crisis line, we provide um, referrals, advocacies, and as I mentioned, you can call us at, or I did mention, but you can call us at 219-931-2090. In addition to that, I'm also going to put up some more information about us as well. Just give me one moment here. Our website is havenhousenwi.org. Also, if you want to contact us via email, you can reach us at havenhousedvs@aol.com. Also, just want to encourage you all to please share this information, because you never know, there may be some people that need to get this information. I will repeat this later on in the broadcast for sake of those that might be logging in a little bit later, but I would be remiss if I didn't give you some resources. Mental Health America, their website is mhanational.org. I repeat that again, mhanational.org. The National DV hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Once again, that number is 1-800-799-7233. Elder Abuse Hotline is 1-800-922-6978. And the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. All right. So now let's just jump right into the conversation. You guys, this is not pre-scripted. The inspiration for this is, I have to say that at Haven House, we have the most interesting conversations on a variety of topics. And so we just wanted to create an opportunity and create a space for you all to join in on those conversations with us. So I would encourage you all, if you have some comments, please put them in the box. If there's anything that just really resonates with you, please put it in the box. We want to get your feedback. We want to get your input. So with that being said, today's topic at hand, where this is actually Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I want to just start off by setting that foundation. And Joy, if you can just touch on for us, what is the definition of mental health and some forms of mental health?
Sure. Actually, the actual definition of mental health is a person's condition with regards to their psychological and emotional well-being, and that falls into so many different categories. Of course, the first one, of course, is clinical depression, and that comes in different forms: anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, ADHD, schizophrenia, obsessive compulsive disorder, autism, post-traumatic stress syndromes. Those are the major. Even dementia falls under that too. It's such a broad, like a broad just category of different where it falls under mental health. But the most ones that come mind right away is the clinical depression and anxiety disorder, which actually goes on. Medicated. It goes on like help for them, because we don't realize that we have clinical depression or anxiety, or we don't ask for the help. And lots of time that just goes undiagnosed. That's the word I was trying to look for. It goes undiagnosed. That's something that's really, really bad.
So, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Joy. And before we get into the cultural perspective of it, I had posted an article online or on our Facebook page. And if you haven't done so already, just want to encourage you to tell anybody you know about our Facebook page, Haven House NWI. And I had posted this article, and basically the gentleman was referencing himself as a professional. And he was very nervous about just even posting on Facebook that he had a mental health concern, and he said that he didn't want people to view him as crazy. He was worried about, people whispering and what they would say, and he titled himself as a professional, and how he had to get up the nerve to do it. And so he said he was faced with two realities. He said the reality of just not saying anything and carrying this, or the reality and carrying this into his future, and there not being any change, or the reality of a year from now, if he did do it and step out and do it, and who it might help. So let's talk about that a little bit. I want to just talk about why some people are hesitant to, and that kind of ties into that culture. So if you want to segue right into that cultural piece too, feel free to do so.
And you're right, it does carry a heavy stigmatism, especially in the professional setting, in any type of setting of jobs, because you're viewed as crazy. And I'm not saying everybody thinks that, but people are like, oh, they're crazy, they're unreliable, what they say don't make no sense, because that's the stigma that's attached to that, because they have a mental health issue, and that's far from the truth. You're not crazy. It's just a disorder that people carry. A lot of us carry it and you don't even know it, because we're scared to share it. But sometimes, like he said, it's helpful to share it and to be open about it, so people can understand it. And then that's where the cultural comes in. From my perspective as being Hispanic, I'm just talking for what I've seen and what I've, dealt with myself, where it's viewed as there's no such thing as depression. There's no such thing as anxiety. It's all in your head. You know what I mean? You're just weak, which you're not, You just can't handle life, just get over it. Breathe it out. Stop being a sissy. And we're brought up that way. And that is just the worst. Because like I said, those conditions are undiagnosed so much, and you carry that with you, and you keeps building. So it's bad. It can become very bad, for you. Your health, becomes very stressful. It affects your health. It could affect even your heart. It could affect so much. But yeah, it takes a lot for you to actually mention, I do have this, I'm diagnosed with this. This is a condition I do have. And it is a mental condition, and it is diagnosed, and it's something that it's almost like wiring, something that's misfiring. You know what I mean? But I praise people that actually do get the help, that start to feel the symptoms, or even if you know someone that's down, because there's different types of depression too. We have it. There's seasonal depression. I don't know if anybody experienced that before, where you kind of feel down because, it's so cold outside and you can't. And there's when someone passes away, you go through that depression too. Lost anybody. It can just be many, many things. And like culture does make a difference, because you call out for help and there's nothing there, nobody there to help you. Make you feel like, am I really crazy? Is there something really wrong? What's wrong with me? And that's how you become more depressed and more discouraged and everything. And it's such a sad thing. Happy that there's more information out there, and schools are talking about it more. And the newer generation they know more information than we do.
That's so true. That is so true, Joy. And just for those that have just logged in, I want to welcome you all. My name is Dara Smith, and with me is
Joy Feliciano.
And we are with Haven House Inc., and we are bringing you the first segment of many of the morning tea. And I just want to thank you all so much. Make sure that you put your comments in the box. And I do need to do a disclaimer. And that disclaimer is that we are not experts. We're not trying to give advice or a specific treatment plan. We are just sharing with you our thoughts, our experiences, and things that we have learned along the way. So I also want to kind of talk a little bit more about when we were talking about the cultural perspectives and things, because I remember growing up too, just hearing that when it came to being tough and strong, like the man is supposed to, not show emotions and not supposed to cry, and he's supposed to be tough. And so that was interesting that you mentioned that in the Hispanic community, those similarities. So I just found that to be very, very interesting. And when we talk about those correlations, because Joy and I, we were talking yesterday, and I was like, man, this is some good conversation. We could have been live yesterday. We talked probably about, I would say, over an hour. And we talked about mental health and a variety of different things. And one of the things that I want to talk about was the correlation with domestic violence. And so we're not going to mention any specific situation, but we're just talking general as a whole. And we know that when it applies to domestic violence, two of the forms of domestic violence, because it's not just physical, but it's also emotional and psychological. And that is the form of mental health, right? Exactly. And so we've seen that. We've seen the emotional scars from someone that has experienced domestic violence. So we see how mental health has a hand in that. And Joy, is there something you want to speak on, add on to that?
Yes, I mean, you're absolutely right about that. That at least, and when you say emotional scar, it's such a deep scar. Like, physical abuse, those heal. When it comes to your emotional, your psychological, that just goes so deep rooted. And you carry that for such a long time until you get that, until you break that cycle and you get the help you need for that. Because we were talking about how cycles, it keeps cycling. If you don't get that help, you don't break that cycle, you don't get the help, you're just recycling to the next generation to show them it's okay, to do that. It's okay to just be this way. It's so, it's, oh my God, I can just keep talking about it. And we all perceive it differently. You know what I mean? It's just so sad how domestic violence is just, we were talking about how it's almost like it's like you're being in war mentally. It's the same thing as anybody with domestic violence being in a war setting. That's how your brain perceives it. So do you imagine someone fighting in war and coming back home to something calm? They still have that going. Your brain keeps going and processing it over and over until you get help and break that cycle. It won't go away. You can lay it to rest, you can put it to bed, but something might happen that triggers you back. And it triggers, and it can come in different forms. You can just lose it for a second, you know what I mean? You can just have forms of thoughts that you shouldn't be having, you know what I mean? It messes with just your focusing. You start to feel you're worthy. It affects so much, and it's so sad to see that happen.
You talked about, you said the focus, and what that made me think about was mental health can affect anybody at any time. And I know yesterday we were talking about that, and you were mentioning how it can sneak up on you.
Oh, yeah.
And it could be a matter of, and I'm not saying this will cause you to have mental health, but if you are under a lot of stress, if you're not resting, all of those can contribute to some mental health. It can. So the resting, there was something else though that I wanted to mention too. The concentration. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention with that, but was there anything that you wanted to add to that, Joy?
No, you're right. It's almost like you can't concentrate. It's just like a brain fog. You can't. Yeah, you can't. It's just, and you need to take care of yourself. Just like you said, you need to rest. Like we said, self-care is so important too. Not just going through, like we say, domestic violence, just self-care alone
Mm-hmm.
and you don't take care of yourself, because we, as just anybody, we just think we're superhumans.
Mm-hmm.
We give ourselves a break and we keep going and going and going. And that could be for any of us, man, woman, any culture, anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anybody, you just keep going and going and going until you just break down. Your body's like, now you got to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
of mental health, because you just broke yourself down. And that's just going through stress and not resting and not taking care of yourself and giving you that time. And a lot of us have trouble with that.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think it's that way though? Because I know I can agree, and I can definitely agree to that, because there have been many of times where, just burning that midnight oil and, just doing that for years, just keep going and going like Energizer Bunny, keep going and going and going. And now I've reached a place in my life where it is, the self-care, taking care of myself. It is an absolute must.
Yes.
But I think there's a lot of times we put ourselves last. We don't make it a priority. And I just wonder why that's the case, because when we are rested and we're taking care of ourselves, we're able to give the best. We're able to be present. And I just wonder why that's always one of those things that kind of fall to the wayside.
And I'm not saying it's cultural, but just let's think about just as gender. I don't know to put it. Think about us just as women, what we were taught to do back then. We're taught to get up in the morning. You have to, make sure the kids are up, or even if you don't have kids, there's breakfast, make sure the house is clean, make sure, we're working, and we keep going, going, going. After work, we go home and we keep going, going, going. That's what we were taught to do. If you just think back of what we've seen our mothers, our grandmothers do, our fathers came home from work, did whatever outside chores, yard work and everything, came home, came in, ate, did whatever, watch TV, they go to bed. You know what I mean? It's just like we just constantly, it just extends from, that's what we constantly do. We're taught just to keep going, keep going, keep going. And I think now that it's just affecting us so much. I think the light bulb went out in somebody and be like, what is going on? Why is these people breaking down? Why is this person all of a sudden, so depressed? You know what I mean? And back then they did treat it as it, you were crazy, but now it's you're not. You know what I mean? We don't take care of ourselves, or we go through a very traumatic thing, like violence, loss of someone very close to you. It hits you hard, and it like trigger. I one time someone told me, and it's just someone had told me, it's like a cancer. They told me, because I wasn't understanding it. It's like a cancer that's sleeping when it's just dormant. It's in. I was like, I didn't think of it that way, and all of a sudden, boom, it comes out. Like you said, comes out of nowhere. It's just sitting there sleeping until something just wakes it up. And I was like, and like I said, it's different forms. Some of us have severe. Some of us have a mild form that just talking it out helps. Just reaching out, asking. We talked about asking for help. Remember, a lot of us don't like it. And I'll raise my hand. I'm one that don't like it. I'm learning that I have to reach out for help. If it's just help to talk, or just help, like, could you just help me do this? Because I am overwhelmed. Because we take on so much, And I think number one is just, asking for help, realizing that that's what we need. Not waiting till it's so bad and it's so far gone.
And that's the absolute worst too. Like when you've been just pushing yourself to the limits and you just keep going, and it gets to the point where you're just so worn out. Like I know you've heard this before, and they'll say like your mind, your body is like telling you like you gotta slow down. And that's one of the worst places to be in, because then it's just like, okay, you have you have to slow down, you have to relax. And it makes it much easier if you catch it and it's like, okay, I need to slow down. But I think a lot of us, we push ourselves to the limits because it's just, I know you've heard this saying before, but there's just never enough time in the day.
Okay. Yes.
It's like, I feel like, oh, there's so many things that I want to do. And okay, let me just squeeze this in and just get this done. And I just, like, I was working on something yesterday and I had set in my mind, okay, I'm going to get XYZ done for the day. And it was one particular thing that I knew I needed to do that was going to really require some time and attention. And I just wanted to get it done yesterday. But at that point, it was towards the end of the day. And it was just kind of like mentally, it was like, I really need to wait till tomorrow to do this because then I'll be refreshed. I'll be rejuvenated and I can give it a whole nother level of energy and creativity. And so I think it's being mindful of those moments and not pushing ourselves and not feeling like you got to get everything done today. And it's okay if you wait till tomorrow, depending on what it is. Like if it's not on deadline and you got to get this done, some things can wait until tomorrow.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I'm so bad at that. Yes. She's like XYZ. I'm like 1, 2, 3. Okay. I got to get this and this done. And you have to learn to, put it aside because I will be 2, 3 in the morning still doing something. And I'm like, what am I doing? It's like I'm supposed to be sleeping. And we all have a tendency of doing that. And it's so horrible. And just think about it. We don't get rest. You know how irritable we are?
Yeah.
We can't work right. You know what I mean? And you can't, like you said, you can't put forth your best.
Mm-hmm.
Become irritable, traffic. We're just the ones yelling in traffic. I'm guilty, so. So I don't want to be late. And so that, yes, put it off till the next day. That's hard for a lot of us. It's hard. Like, okay, like you said, I'm trying to learn, if it's not life-threatening, you could put it off.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It's not harming anybody. So, and I gotta tell myself that all the time. All right, those dishes can sit there. It ain't killing nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like,
right, exactly.
It can sit there till tomorrow morning. I'll get up in the morning because, oh my God, I would be just like fidgety, like, okay, I got it. And 1 in the morning, I'm thinking like dishes. I'm like dreaming they're attacking me, so like exactly. I'm like, so I had to learn, like, they can sit there, they're not attacking nobody. Just let them sit there and get them done in the morning, stuff like that. And it's so hard for us to do that. But little things like that helps you so much. And you realize it, just taking that time, just a little bit, and we just have to I always say just love ourselves. We have to love ourselves first. Put us first. Be selfish. That's what I keep telling myself. And this is sharing something that I do, and I'm going to share it with you guys. My bathroom mirror. I write stuff on it with a Sharpie. Like, be selfish. Love yourself. I do different things. You're beautiful. You're awesome. It might sound odd to some people, but you see that, especially when, someone that does suffer from it, or someone that's, not feeling good that day, or good morning, sunshine. And I'll write it in the morning, and my daughter go in and wash her face, and she's washing, she looks, oh, you kind of feel good about yourself. Like, oh, that's nice. Or love, little things like that. I know it's odd, but just sharing something that I actually do that it actually is helpful. Yeah. And it my daughters even said it's helped them, or write little jokes on there, where we're drying our face and just start laughing in the bathroom, not knowing why one's laughing, but it helps. I mean, somebody should try it one day and just like email us and let us know how that went. Yeah, it kind of brightens our day.
I like that. So it's like that affirmation, or that, you know,
Mhm.
you're seeing it, and it's that reminder. That's a really good idea. I
Mhm.
like that. That's a really, really good idea.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this conversation, because I know that there's so much more
Yeah.
that we could talk about, but we just so we talked about mental health, what it is, different forms, the cultural perspective, and then also self-care, which is so important. I'm
Yes.
going to just kind of say my final thoughts on that, and then if you anything, please, Joy, anything that you want to say. But as I mentioned earlier with the self-care, I didn't realize it's one of those things, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's with age. I
Hmm.
don't know what was the change, but I know for me, for many, many, many years, I have always been one that would work late, and, you know, just keep working until I got the project done. But as I'm getting older, I recognize the importance of the self-care, and just not now even becoming more aware of the effects of not getting that proper rest, and you know, how it affects so many different things. And I would just encourage anyone that's listening in, you know, just, you kind of touched on this too, Joy, just the little things, you know, just someone was telling me the other day, just get in your car and just drive. Just don't stay in the house all day, because I'm known for that. I can do that. I'm working on different projects, but
Hmm.
then I'm becoming more mindful of stepping away, you know, taking some time to, if it's just resting, or I'm not gonna lie, I will binge watch some TV, because there have been some times where I'm like, I don't want to have to focus on anything, deep concentration. I just want to be able to just relax, and just not have to be under whatever pressure or whatever. I just want to be able to just sit there and relax. And so I've been mindful of that, you know, if it's checking emails, because I'm really good about, I will check emails. And sometimes you just have to disconnect.
Yes.
You know, it's so, so important. So for anybody, if nothing else, the one thing that I want to leave with you is the importance of taking that time for yourself and not feeling guilty. I remember, and I know of someone that had many children, and she always put them first. And don't get me wrong, that's fine, you know, take care of your responsibilities, your children. But it was so much so that it was at her, I don't want to say at her expense, but she didn't take care of herself. And
Hmm.
I think that happens a lot of times when we're caring for others, which is, don't get me wrong, which is okay. But in the process, we need to make sure that we're being good to ourselves and taking care of ourselves as well. So that's my thing that I leave with you, is to begin to do and not feel guilty, and take time for yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And just be aware and ask for that help. Just talk it out. You know, don't keep it bottled in, because it's not a good thing. And like she said, just self-care. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of nobody else.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Joy, as always, it has been an absolute joy and pleasure. I thank you so much for coming on. Well, not coming on, for being a part of this with
Thank you.
me. I'm excited for those that will be coming on as well. We will be presenting the morning tea once a month. We will have on a different topic. We will be talking on a different topic. And Joy, I definitely want you to please
Of course.
come back on again. And crisis line number. So Haven House Inc., if you would like to reach out to us, if you know of anybody that's seeking shelter. As I mentioned, we are a 24-hour emergency shelter. You can reach us at 219-931-2090 is our emergency crisis line. I did mention this earlier, but we also offer safety planning and crisis intervention, as well as the advocacies and referrals, and the non-residential services, as well as the residential services as well. I do want to give those resources out again in case somebody logged in a little bit later. So you can go on the website Mental Health America. So their website is mhanational.org. If you're not local, if you're not in Northwest Indiana, you can always check with the local hospital just to see what type of programs they have or other resources they may be able to link you to in regards to mental health. As far as domestic violence is concerned, if you are in need of some additional resources, if you're not in, as I said, Northwest Indiana, you can contact the National DV Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Once again, that number is 1-800-799-7233. Elder abuse, if you are experiencing that or you know of someone, they can call 1-800-992-6978, 1-800-992-6978, or the National Suicide Prevention Line is 1-800-273-8255. So once again, I want to just thank you all so very much for joining us for a time, the morning tea. We so appreciate you joining on with us. And one of the things that I always like to say is that you could have been anywhere. You could have been anywhere. And I just thank you so much for joining us today, because I'm a true believer that one of our greatest resources is our time. So thank you so much for your time and attention. Please make sure that you share this information. If you are in need of resources, we have a crisis worker available 24 hours a day. Number is on the bottom of the screen, 219-931-2090. Also, if you would like to be involved in some of the things that Haven House is doing or stay abreast of what we have going on, please make sure you follow us on Facebook, Haven House in NWI. If you would like to make a donation, you can actually make a donation online. You can go to havenhousenwi.org, or you can send a check or money order payable to Haven House Inc., P.O. Box 508, Hammond, Indiana 46325. Once again, that is P.O. Box 508, Hammond, Indiana 46325. Check payable to Haven House Inc. So that's all that I have, folks. Thank you so much for joining in. And until next time, have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.